In fact, I believe it is even fair to argue to some degree that these quote-unquote online Andrew Tates of South Korea are even more radical than Andrew Tate in terms of their beliefs. And to prove my point, I do not have to go beyond than to see some of the posts that were made within the last 24 hours in DC Inside's infamous stock trading discussion gallery. And before moving on, please be aware that some of the messages shared on these posts that we'll be sharing may be highly disturbing, even though we have deliberately picked the more milder posts written in the gallery in terms of the strength of their misogynistic sentiments to prevent the video from being demonetized. Furthermore, some of the Korean words in the posts will have to be inevitably censored for this video due to the profane nature of the word choices, which is also one of the widely noted characteristics of the members of this 11 million member community website. Over the past year or so, most of us have at least heard about the controversial online influencer, Andrew Tate. And to avoid myself from falling into the trend of just criticizing Andrew Tate without actually knowing the type of ideas and beliefs that he espouses and the things which he has said in the past, I conducted a bit of due diligence on Andrew Tate. So after doing some research, I do have to say that not everything that has been said by the controversial figure is wrong. For instance, he does emphasize the importance of setting up a good system and the power of discipline in order to achieve success. And these are indeed legitimate points in which I believe not many people would argue against. But the fact of the matter is that despite some of the almost cliché messages of positivity, such as the value of hard work and discipline that he occasionally shares with his followers, at the end of the day, he was and still is a radical misogynist who's known for having beliefs such as how women who has been victimized physically by men should quote-unquote bear responsibility for their attacks, and how he enjoys dating 18 to 19-year-olds because he can quote-unquote make an imprint on them. And no matter which kind of argument in which his devout followers come up with in order to defend him, we all know just on a very fundamental level that such a radical mindset, while on a micro, individual-to-individual scale, may be effective in boosting the ego of an impressionable male and make them feel just more powerful and quote-unquote macho. On a macro, grand scale of humanity, it will only make the world a worse place in the long run if our world is largely consisted of individuals whose minds are dominated by such extreme misogyny. And while conducting the due diligence on Andrew Tate, I could not help starkly notice one thing. Every single misogynistic message in which Andrew Tate has shared with the world, the exact identical types of messages has already been made by a group of men in South Korea and was widely controversial all over South Korea starting from around the year 2015, many years before Andrew Tate has reached any level of global fame. Let me give you an example. Andrew Tate is widely noted for his quote-unquote sandwich theory, where he compares women to a piece of leftover sandwich lying on the floor. He states that if 100 men have quote-unquote used a sandwich for free in the past, then you come up and pick up the sandwich and actually pay money to eat it, you are essentially confirming yourself as an extremely low-value man. And ideas such as the sandwich theory and his adamant belief on how to quote, 99% of all the world's problems would disappear if women had their body count on their foreheads are one of the core factors that has contributed to his gaining of global traction. But once again, the exact type of ideas in the lines of the sandwich theory by Andrew Tate, mainly around the year 2022, were all already widely made and was covered all over the news in South Korea way before the emergence of Andrew Tate. So then the question has to be asked, who exactly are these people in South Korea who already espoused ideas that are almost exact parallel to Tate's sandwich theory all the way back from 2015? This community of people are the members of a South Korean online community website, DC Inside. Now, when we hear the phrase online community website, you might think that this is some fringe, minority website that exists in a dark corner of the internet. But that is the very opposite of the case here. As of 2023, DC Inside is officially the biggest community portal site of South Korea, with over 2 to 3 million visitors per day, with a total membership number of 11 million people. And as surprising as it is, There was a report which came out in 2022 that only 51.8% of the users of the community site were male, while 48.2% were female. And when the numbers first came out, most people in South Korea were all quite shocked and quite skeptical, as most in Korea all had the image of the website as being a place that was almost 99% consisted of male members. But then it turns out that there is an existence of a handful of quote-unquote galleries in DC Inside, such as the Male Celebrity Discussion Gallery, or the Female Celebrity Discussion Gallery, or Domestic Drama Discussion Gallery, where more than 90% of the members who frequent such galleries are of the female gender. But then once again, if you actually look into the details, it is undeniable that the ratio of men compared to women in most of the galleries of the community website DC Inside is far larger. Furthermore, there is no way that the employees working for the community portal site of DC Inside could know of the gender of the users of the website who view the contents of the website without signing up or logging into the website. Our point here is that, so while the employees of DC Inside may have had the incentive to publish such statistics, partly in the effort to rebuke much of the stereotype out there in South Korea of the community website being dominated by the male members, most people in South Korea are not really buying into the 51.8% male, 48.2% female ratio data that has been published. But just for the sake of argument, let's just say that only 51.8% of all the members of the community website are indeed male. This still comes to the number of approximately 6 million male members, if rounded to the nearest integer. Now, we have to ask the subsequent question. Are all of the male members of the website extreme misogynists in the lines of Andrew Tate? And the answer to this question is no, or at least I hope that the answer is no. I'm inclined to believe that not every one of the 6 million male members who frequent the website hold misogynistic beliefs, and that some members do frequent the website in order to get in touch with certain information shared by the members of the community that may prove to be useful to them, despite the prominent misogyny that permeates throughout the community website. But at the same time, it is far from prudent to claim that the misogyny problem innate within this controversial South Korean online community is a fringe problem that only exists for the minority members of the group. To elaborate, the community website DC Inside is divided into different so-called quote-unquote galleries, such as stock trading discussion gallery, celebrity discussion gallery, to even Minecraft discussion gallery. But the galleries in DC Inside that has by far the largest number of daily posts and visitors are namely galleries such as Real-Time Best Post Collection Gallery, Domestic Baseball Discussion Gallery, and Stock Trading Discussion Gallery. And at the same time, these largest galleries of the community site where the most number of members frequent beyond comparison to the rest of the other quote-unquote galleries is where the vast majority of the misogynistic ideas and posts are made. Funny enough, if you visit the quote-unquote stock trading discussion gallery of DC Inside, for instance, there are rarely any posts about stock trading, but mainly heavily misogynistic posts. So to say that only a fringe number of the members of the community site of DC Inside are misogynists is also largely inaccurate, to say the least, when the largest and most frequented galleries of the community site where the majority of the group hang out is simultaneously the most controversial and what has created their infamy in the first place. Then we have to move on to the next question. Are the things that they say and the ideas that they espouse really that bad? Can they really be considered misogynists in the lines of Andrew Tate? And the answer to this question is an unquestionable yes. In fact, I believe it is even fair to argue to some degree that these quote-unquote online Andrew Tates of South Korea are even more radical than Andrew Tate in terms of their beliefs. And to prove my point, I do not have to go beyond than to see some of the posts that were made within the last 24 hours in DC Inside's infamous stock trading discussion gallery. And before moving on, please be aware that some of the messages shared on these posts that we'll be sharing may be highly disturbing, even though we have deliberately picked the more milder posts written in the gallery in terms of the strength of their misogynistic sentiments to prevent the video from being demonetized. Furthermore, some of the Korean words in the posts will have to be inevitably censored for this video due to the profane nature of the word choices, which is also one of the widely noted characteristics of the members of this 11 million member community website. Let's have a look into this post made 3 minutes ago as of the time of writing this video script. The post says that, to quote, "Only men with absolutely no masculinity will marry a Korean woman. They have to cater everything to their wife, give up all the economic power of the household to the wife, own all property in shared name with the wife, and do all the child rearing and housework together with the wife. If you have to live like this, it is better to just have an arranged marriage with a 20-year-old Vietnamese woman and be treated like a king. That is what you call strong masculinity." Now, we do not have to be a saint to know that the content of this post is wrong on so many levels. First, although I translated the words into quote-unquote Korean women, this is not the exact translation. The actual Korean phrase used by the member who wrote this post is an extremely derogatory term that is commonly used by the members of DC Insight to describe the women in South Korea. And not only that, they claim that conducting housework together with their wife or sharing child-rearing activities together with their wife is something that is emasculating and makes them less of a man. And last but not least, this post is highly offensive to all women of Vietnam, portraying them as almost object-like beings that can all be bought into marriage by the men of South Korea. Let us have a look into another post made on the very same day to the previous one. This individual literally goes on to claim that, to put it into the most mildest of translations, of how all individuals of the female gender were born to give birth to babies. Nothing more, nothing less. Then he goes on to adamantly claim that women who cannot fulfill this overarching purpose are all destined to suffer from depression, anxiety, and various other mental illnesses, just naturally because of their inability to fulfill their quote-unquote purpose in life. And the writer of the post continues on with saying that in order to avoid such a tragic fate, their entire existence is naturally dedicated to being a subordinate of men who are physically larger and stronger than them, and thus can offer them with protection. Then he goes on with a bunch of other nonsense that are all extremely derogatory and contains way too much profanity. Such types of ideas do not have any business entering into the cognizance of any sane and responsible person living in the modern society. And at the same time, for the people who have also conducted their due diligence on Andrew Tate, you'll have realized that such posts are largely parallel in nature to the type of statements in which Andrew Tate has made in the past, such as when he stated that he believes his sister to be her husband's quote-unquote property. But the sad and dangerous reality for South Korea is that such posts of similar nature are not some rare, occasional posts, but posts that are written by different members of the website, with each post being merely seconds away from one another, not in some unpopular, unfrequented minor gallery of the community website, but in one of the most popular and viewed galleries of this online community. And let us all be honest, we do not have to be rocket scientists to acknowledge the fact that this is a very dangerous situation for South Korea when not some fringe website on the dark corner of the internet, but the biggest portal community website in all of South Korea with 11 million members, and on the largest and most active sub-community of this community site for that matter, has posts of extreme misogynistic sentiments uploaded not on an hour-to-hour basis or even a minute-to-minute basis, but on a second-to-second basis for every single day of every single month, every single year. This is a phenomenon that is extremely troubling and causes much worry for the well-being and the future of the nation. Then we have to ask the final question. How's having the largest online community website of South Korea, with most members out of all online community sites existing in the nation, also being the home ground to the nation's most extreme misogynists, exactly a bad thing? I believe 99% of you guys already know the answer to this question, but we have a history in our channel of when we deliberately do not mention something that we deem too obvious and thus presume everyone knows already for the sake of video length. I'll have to someone write a comment in the lines of, "But you didn't mention this?" ? So without further ado, let us discuss the answer to this final question. One of the many reasons why it is bad to have the largest portal community site of South Korea also as the home ground to the nation's most extreme misogynists is that it incites feelings of dislike, often cases very severe level of dislike and fear into the minds of the ordinary South Korean people. To elaborate, Long before Andrew Tate first mentioned his quote-unquote sandwich theory, the members of the community site of DC Inside first came up with a quote-unquote dishwasher theory. The dishwasher theory states that the majority of ordinary South Korean men who get married to South Korean women are quote-unquote dishwashers. This is as the members of this community website believe that the ordinary South Korean women spend the majority of their 20s dating this and that physically attractive men only to get eventually abandoned by them time and time again as they gradually get older. And as they enter their 30s, they now look for the stable, ordinary men to get married to, somebody while not being the most attractive man in the world, who nonetheless can provide financial stability for them as they get older and wish to settle down. And according to the members of the largest community site of South Korea, these men who enter marriage are quote-unquote dishwashers, washing the dishes left over by the quote-unquote alpha males who have used the dishes when they were once clean and pure in the past. And as repulsive as this idea already sounds, you can also notice how the sentiment of the theory is basically the same as Andrew Tate's sandwich on the floor theory, only now the object has turned into, well, used dishes. To be fair, as with even the most disagreeable of arguments out there in the world, if we are to scrutinize the logic behind theories, such as the sandwich on the floor theory or the dishwasher men theory that received much public attention in South Korea in 2021 by various news media, there is a slight hint of insight to them. It is true that no individual in the world would be completely happy to hear that their spouse, the person who they love and have promised to live the rest of their life with, have also been in an intimate relationship with a number of partners other than themselves for extended periods of time. But then, if there is indeed some truth to the theories, how are they exactly detrimental to society? It is partly because they are so effective at feeding into the imaginations of the ordinary people, then subsequently going on to stimulate heavily negative emotions in their mind, such as anger and fear. Anger that the people of the opposite gender in the country conduct such a hedonistic lifestyle, and fear that their wife or their wife-to-be has also conducted such a lifestyle in the past, and that they are in fact the quote-unquote dishwashers of the society. So as with most theories that are based on sensationalism, rather than allowing the individual to rationally analyze the situation, as in analyzing how frequent such scenarios represented in the quote-unquote dishwasher man theory actually occur in real life, and if it does occur, how to approach and deal with the situation in a rational manner, it first stirs the emotion center of many men and make them think in the lines of, such dishwashing scenario is prevailing to some poor guy as of right now. I could also be a future victim or am already a victim. This obviously paralyzes the rational center of the brain, contributing to many men in South Korea having a very emotional attitude, emotions that are largely negative at that when it comes to considering any issues regarding gender, such as having a romantic relationship with the person of the opposite gender or getting into marriage. And I have to re-emphasize this point. The members of this community portal site DC Inside, the biggest online community of South Korea, are not some virtual beings that exist only in the online realms. These are actual, real-life individuals living in South Korea, walking on the streets of South Korea at this very moment. And in the worst of cases, what happens when there is a concerningly large number of individuals with misogynistic beliefs and attitudes who roam around within the nation, being shoulder to shoulder with people of the opposite gender on a daily basis? You guessed it, crime. Statistics show that out of all crimes committed in South Korea in a 2-year time span by members of well-known South Korean online community websites, the members of DC Inside have committed the second largest number of sexual crimes, only behind another notoriously famous community website in South Korea by the name of Daily Best. But technically, the community website Daily Best can still be somewhat considered as a part of the DC Inside community, as the community website Daily Best originally started off by being a place where they gathered and reposted all of the most controversial posts made in the DC Inside galleries, only to eventually establish themselves into a separate website rather than being one of the many quote-unquote galleries in DC Inside. And due to the rapid decline of the popularity of the website in the late 2010s, it has been reported that many of the members of the community website Daily Best has since then returned back to their original home ground of DC Inside. But now at the same time, can we just generalize then that all 11 million members of the community website are potential criminals? In all fairness, that is not an accurate statement to make as well. I believe a large number of the members of the community site who write posts which oozes misogyny on a daily basis, in real life, hopefully, should still have the level of discretion to know that many of the things in which they say on the website are highly criminal, and the things that they say cannot go beyond the words, and definitely not real-life manifestations. But at the same time, for the past few years, South Korea has been persistently dealing with a concerning number of crimes against women, only to have the offenders state time and time again during the investigation that they have committed the crime just because they are quote-unquote women. Let me give you a few cases. In 2016, a Korean male by the name of Kim Sung-min murdered a woman near Gangnam Station. During police investigation, he literally stated that he committed the crime because he felt, to quote, women ignored him. In the same year, another Korean male physically assaulted a woman in the street in Seoul in Gangdong district. During investigation, he stated his reason for committing the crime as, to quote, when I see women, I just feel like hitting them. In May of 2022, a man kicked a woman in the head in the city of Busan, South Korea, and was arrested for attempted murder. During investigation, he stated that he committed the crime because, to quote, she looked at me the wrong way. And we can provide you with an endless number of crimes of similar nature which have occurred in South Korea over the past few years. But we believe you get the point. Can we say that all the offenders of such crimes have been influenced by the community website DC Inside? No. But at the same time, in a country of 51 million people, if the biggest portal community website of the nation with 11 million total members, with an average of 2 million to 3 million visitors a day, is simultaneously the most misogynistic online community of the entire nation, can we also claim that the existence of such online community had absolutely no influence on any of the quote-unquote don't ask me the reason, I just did it because they're women type of crimes that has been occurring in an out-of-control fashion in the nation for the past few years? The answer to this question is also an astounding no. There is absolutely no way that this largely misogynistic online community of 11 million members had entirely no influence whatsoever on some of the gender conflict-related crime cases which has occurred in the nation in the recent years. And statistics once again help us in corroborating this fact, as many of the sexual crime offenders of the nation were indeed active members of this online community. And consequences of lesser evil to society compared to outright crime, in which such a mammoth online community is most likely to have at least some degree of influence on, are consequences such as South Korea's unfathomable 0.78 birth rate, by far the lowest in the world without even a close margin. Again, gender conflict is not the only reason as to why South Korea's birth rate is exorbitantly low, as other societal reasons, such as rising housing and childcare costs, is also definitely contributing to the phenomenon. But is South Korea the only OECD nation that is burdened with systemic issues such as rising housing costs? Absolutely not. So to say that heightened level of gender conflict within the nation, which is more than well depicted by the membership number of South Korea's largest community website, did not at all contribute to the increase in the level of misunderstanding and prejudice of people of one gender to another within the country, is also foolish and out of touch with reality as well. South Korea has a deep gender issue that is currently running at the very core of the society. And a large number of people who are frustrated by the manifestations of such gender conflict resort to anonymous online communities to release their pent-up anger or their heavily emotion-based opinions. But this is not the right way for one society to be able to successfully overcome the great challenge of gender conflict. Gathering themselves online on an anonymous basis in the number of millions, writing posts in the lines of, all the people of the female gender in South Korea are this, all the people of the female gender in South Korea are that, they're the worst, etc., etc., only spread further emotions of strong dislike as well as prejudice towards the people of the opposite gender and only exacerbate the already serious level of misunderstanding that exists between them. So then what is the right direction? We believe that the people of South Korea have to pursue debate and discuss the exact issues that are at the core of this conflict in safe, rational, and last but not least, constructive ways. So as long as DC Inside, Korea's largest and simultaneously the most misogynistic portal community site, stands in the way of such constructive direction of solving the issues of gender conflict in South Korea and continue its upload of misogynistic posts and ideas that even makes Andrew Tate look like a Benedictine monk, my firm disapproval towards this community website, which is currently sadly located at the very heart of South Korea's internet culture, will not change.